Good morning. Welcome again to Morning Devotions, and thank you again for our time together. It's a beautiful Monday. God is going to bless all the work of your hands this week. Let me talk to you about family for a few minutes. I always like starting Ephesians 5 with verse 21 instead of verse 22. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit to your husbands as to the Lord. Now, brothers and sisters, there's a few things I want you to see here. Submission is a two-way street. Husbands, submit to your wives. Wives, submit to your husbands. And then he continues, wives, submit to your husbands. Not submit to every pair of pants that walks down the street. This male-dominated thing in some churches where every woman submits to a man. No. Submit to your husbands. But what I want you to see today is the two foundations of submission. Submission is not an action. Obedience is an action. Submission is an attitude. In every wedding, I tell the story of the little girl whose father said, sit down. She said, no. He said, I said, sit down. She said, no. He said, I said, sit down. She sat down and she looked up at her father and said, but I'm standing up on the inside. Okay. Cute story. She was obedient, but she was not submission. Submission is an attitude of the heart. And that attitude of the heart flows from two things. Number one, it flows from respect for Christ, reverence for Christ. If you have no respect for Christ, you will not be able to be submissive to your wife, and wives, you won't be able to be submissive to your husbands. Submission flows from a respect for Christ. So if you're having trouble showing submission to other people, there's a spiritual cause. And you need to come back in your walk with God to a place of respect. When you respect Christ, submission fills your heart. Secondly, he continues there about how the husband sacrifices for the church, or sacrifices for the wife like Christ sacrifices for the church, sacrificial love. Submission flows from being the recipient of sacrificial love. As the church, we are submissive to Christ because of his sacrificial love. Husbands, your wife will be submissive, not because you dominate her, but because you constantly show sacrificial love. Now, gentlemen, if we want our wives to be more submissive, we're not going to get it by taking a course on how to beat our wives. We're going to get it by learning, how do I sacrifice more for my wife? How do I put my wife first? How do I always put her before myself in life? How do I constantly show her my sacrificial love for her? And when she sees that, an attitude of submission grows within her heart. That's the birthplace of submission. Respect for Christ and being the recipient of sacrificial love.